round. However, I do think eventually, Hogan's going to lay it on him and drown him essentially with just volume. Hogan's actually a high volume guy. He's low weight for the heavyweight class, but he's a high volume guy. He, knows how to overwhelm his opponents and really essentially break them. So I think that's what we're going to see, and I think we're going to see a late TKO finish from Josh Hogan. Not flatline, nothing like that. I think he's essentially going to make Derek Lewis quit, and I'm going to go third round. I think Derek Lewis is going to stick around. I think we're going to see him break in the second, but he is a tough guy, and I think we're going to see him, last until that third round. So that's my official prediction on that. Josh Hogan, third round TKO, not KO. So far I have 3 out of 4 being KOs in my predictions. So we'll see. Hopefully that's the case. I mean, obviously we all want to see great show. So that would be ideal. Next we have Sean O'Malley versus Ariel Helwani. Wait, I take that back. Sean O'Malley versus Amin Zahabi. So Ariel Helwani is literally his look-alike, his twin. I mean, he's bantamweight Ariel Helwani. So, but with that being said, Suga is elite still. Don't care they lost to Merab. I mean, Merab's a great fighter. Merab's a great wrestler, great gas tank. Amin's an okay wrestler, okay gas tank. He's solid all around, but he's old, and I honestly do think this is not a layup for Sean, but I do think, we're really going to see him elevate and get back to his old self, how he looked versus Piotr Jan, versus Aljamain, versus, all those people he was fighting on the come-up. I think that's the Sean O'Malley that we're going to see in this fight, and I really do think Sean's going to lay it on him, and I'm expecting not necessarily a first round. I'm expecting a second round KO. I actually think he's going to flatline him. I don't think Zahabi has the chin to take the shots of someone like Suga, and I think Suga's high level enough to find that shot. And the thing too is Zahabi's never fought. I know he fought Aldo, but that's an older Aldo, and that's not. Aldo doesn't carry the same power, the same length, the same speed as, you're going to see with Suga. So I do think a lot of people are saying Sean by decision. However, I do have O'Malley by KO, and I actually think it's going to be a highlight. I think this is what reignites O'Malley's career, and I think from here, hopefully we get that Sandhagen matchup, and, we'll see how he looks in that title contention picture. But, for the time being, I do think this is probably the best matchup they could have given him. And I think Sugar Show's gonna show out, man. I think he's gonna shine, and I think we're gonna see that KO, highlight KO in the second round. On to the big ones. So this is one I've had very, very conflicting opinions on in regards to. This is Pereira versus Gane. So I think there's a couple different sides to it. So initially I'm thinking lighter man skill. Shout out Lucas Tracy. I'm thinking lighter man skill. Pereira's been in there with Blachowicz. He's been in there with Adesanya. He's had years of glory kickboxing in the middleweight division in overseas. So, he's seen so many high-level guys that are so much quicker than your average heavyweight. But at the same time, Gane is not your average heavyweight. Gane is extremely light on his feet. He's very good physique. He's big. He's naturally big. That's the biggest thing. I know Pereira weighed in more, but Gane is naturally big. He's quick. He's light on his feet. He's a good kickboxer. So I do think, and he's a southpaw is another thing to mention. I know Pereira usually does struggle with southpaws. Not to say you can't beat him. Obviously, knocked out Ankalaev, and he's one of the great. I think he's the greatest kickboxer of all time. So he's not going to have too much trouble there, but I just think it presents a challenge that he wouldn't normally have to face if he was fighting someone like Aspinall. So, man, I think. I think Pereira has so much momentum, and he's going for history. I think Pereira's I think he's going to find the shot, dude. I really do. The Vegas line is very suspect. This is one I would probably fade if you're gambling because, listen, they're pick-em lines, and we have Pereira having most of the money on him, which is normally something that I fade, and it makes me think that, maybe Gane. Vegas would say that Gane's should be the favorite, slightly. Probably, in reality, minus 130, because they're minus 115 right now, but all the money's on Pereira. So, it does scare me a little bit, but at the same time, how many times has Vegas been wrong in the past 3 or 4 cards? Strickland was plus 500, something crazy. He pulls it off. We're seeing all these huge upsets. Piotr Jan beating Marab. That was one that was crazy. Huge underdog, probably minus or plus 400, something like that. So I don't think Vegas has the golden ticket to just know exactly what's going to happen, but it's definitely something to take into consideration. This is definitely not going to be a walkthrough for Pereira. He's not going to go out there and do what he did to Ankalaev in that second fight. It's not going to look like what Jones did to Gane in that fight, in that heavyweight title fight. It's not going to be that quick. I do think this is going to be a long, grueling fight, a war, you could say. And I do see Pereira coming out on top. I really do. I think he's different. He's got the lighter man skill. He has the technical ability to find the shot. Gane has never fought anyone like Pereira. So I think Pereira's going to show levels. I do think Gane's going to have some success. But I think Pereira's going to land the shot, man. I'm going to say, I'm looking forward to it. I love Poton, man. So I'm going to say Pereira. I think he finds the shot late round 2 or early round 3. So I do think Pereira finds the shot. He's going to back him up against the fence. Gane has really good lateral movement, but eventually we are going to see Pereira hunt him down. This is what he does, man. This is what he does for a living. He's been doing this for 18 years. So Pereira's going to find the shot. He's going to put him out. Maybe not stiff, but he's going to TKO him at least. And we're going to see Poton raise those 3 belts and make history. So, yeah, that's my official prediction for that. I'll go 3rd round. Early to mid 3rd round TKO Pereira. On to the main event. Last but not least, for the UFC Freedom 250 White House card. Historic event. So last but not least, we're going to see Topuria versus Gaethje. Now this is, I think people are reading a little bit too much into it. I think when you think about it logically, you think, Topuria kills him. Topuria kills him. And I think logic's going to hold up. I don't see this being a huge upset. I really don't. I think when you look at Topuria's resume, you look at his skill level. I remember watching that first Emmett fight. After that Emmett fight, I was like, okay, so this guy's never going to lose. And then you knock out he knocks out Volkanovski stiff in the second round. It's just, I mean, you can't get any higher level than Volk. You can't get any better chin than Max at the time. I think it's withered away a little bit, but still a great chin. And Volk has a great chin for that matter as well. So I just don't think you can get away from Topuria. I just think he's going to stalk you and eventually find your chin. So the timing is what's interesting. So the problem too with Gaethje is I do think Gaethje's out of his prime. I see him. So I see that Patty fight, and I see a slower Gaethje. I see a little bit, thicker around the waist. I don't see the same Gaethje. The Gaethje that fought Ferguson, in COVID and the bubble was, I think would beat this version of Gaethje, this current version of Gaethje. So, it's really a tough situation. However, obviously, it's not a 0% chance. I mean, Gaethje does have a chance. I don't think the wrestling is going to be a factor. I think Topuria's ground game is a little bit overrated, but I don't think it's to the level where you're going to see Gaethje take him down. So I do think it's going to be a stand-up fight. I think Ilya's going to be true to his word. He said he's going to knock him out. He's not going to submit him. So I do see this as a stand-up fight, and I do think Topuria's going to KO him, dude. I really do. I don't see how Gaethje wins this. I mean, like I said, puncher's chance. His power's being a little overrated, but of course he hits hard. He can find that shot. It's definitely possible, but we haven't seen it in a while. And I think Topuria's chin's really good, man. I like the fact he's not at 145 anymore. 55, he's going to have a little bit more brain liquid. He's going to be a little bit less depleted from the weight cut. I mean, we saw Charles land a huge elbow, a massive elbow, about 15 seconds into that fight, his last one. And, I mean, Topuria ate it. That was crazy. I think you land an elbow like that on Gaethje, I think he's going out. So, I think Topuria's chin's underrated. I think the most interesting part about this fight is if Gaethje can survive the early onslaught and then use some of that cardio condition. Because I do think, even though Topuria is saying, he has the better cardio, he's better in every form. I think skill-wise that's true, but I actually don't think he has better cardio than Gaethje. I think Gaethje's cardio is elite. I think he's going to be there all 25 minutes until he gets, if and when he gets knocked out. So I do think cardio is going to be the biggest thing here. If Gaethje can survive and make it to round 3, 4, 5, I do think those later rounds are going to be interesting. Because we haven't seen Topuria go that long. And generally with these guys with a ton of power, usually you're blessed with one or the other. It's usually not often that you're going to have a ton of power as well as a ton of cardio. That's a pretty rare thing. You're going to be thinking about guys like Usman. I mean, you could say Pereira as well, but it's a rare combo. So generally, you're going to have one or the other, and I don't think Topuria's gas tank is as good as Gaethje's. So I think the strategy has to be get Topuria to throw. He needs him to empty the tank. Because if Topuria's not throwing much and has low output, then of course he's still going to have the tank and 3, 4, 5. But I think Gaethje needs to go in there, walk forward, get Ilya to throw, somehow survive, and then 3, 4, 5, just basically willpower him. Just willpower your way to either a finish or a late decision. So I think that's the strategy for Gaethje. However, I don't see that happening. I think Topuria is too smart. He's too skillful. He's too slick, too young, too elite. I do think he's going to find the chin, and I think we're going to see a second round KO from Ilya Topuria. I think we're going to see a highlight KO. I think he's just going to do what has he done in the past that makes me think there's any reason he shouldn't go in there and knock out Gaethje. There's nothing. So I think obviously Gaethje has a chance, but I kind of laid out the blueprint of how I think he does get it done, but it's a low chance. I would say about 90% Topuria, maybe 10% Gaethje, if even, maybe 95.5. It's a pretty high likelihood of Topuria, but I wouldn't be mad at seeing Gaethje climb the final mountain. I think it'd be pretty cool. So I'm a big Topuria guy. However, like I said, I think it'd be a pretty cool thing to see an American guy, a small town kid, really climb the mountain and get it done at the end of his career when no one thinks he can do it. No one. So I think that'd be a pretty cool story. So I'm rooting for Gaethje, but I just don't think. I think Topuria is way, way too high level. So, with that being said, that's my take. So I'll go through Diego Lopez, round 1 KO. Bo Nickel decision. Rufy, round 2 KO. Hokett, round 3 TKO. Sean O'Malley, round 2 KO stiff. Highlight. Pereira, round 3 TKO versus Gone. And then Topuria, round 2 TKO is my official decision. So, my official prediction. My apologies. So, yeah, with that being said, man, it's going to be a great card. Happy birthday to America. It's pretty cool that Dana put this event together and that we're getting all this to fruition. So, we'll see, man. I think there could be some upsets. Gaethje could clip him. Gone could definitely beat Pereira. I think that's like a 60-40 fight, maybe 55-45. I think that's a really close fight. So who knows with that one. I don't think Sugar's going to lose. Don't think Hokett's going to lose. Don't think Rufy's going to lose. Don't think Bo's going to lose. Don't think... Diego Lopez could lose, but I think the biggest upset we're looking at, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think Gaethje, again, but Topuria is so skillful. He's so elite. He's so young. He's in his prime. So confident. I just think he just has way too much going for him. So, with that being said, man, we'll have to see how it all plays out, and I'm really looking forward to the card. I'm going to go watch it with the boys, and we'll see how it all goes. So, thanks for listening.